Hi everybody, this is Eureka Math, Module 4, Lesson 8. Today we will identify and measure angles as turns and recognize them in various contexts. In other words, we're going to find angles as turns in real life situations. And the first one we're going to look at is a clock. So we can think of angles as turns on a clock. So take a look at this clock that's at 9 o'clock. We're going to turn the minute hand 15 minutes so that it says 9:15. Take a look at that again. When the minute hand on the clock turns 15 minutes, what kind of angle is that? How can you describe the angle? Take a look. What angle is that? It's very familiar, isn't it? It's a 90-degree turn. We can also call it a right angle, or we can call it a quarter turn. Why do you think we would call it a quarter turn? Think about that and we'll talk about it in our next slide. So take a look at these angles between 12 and 3. What degrees are those turns? So before we get back to the quarter turn, we're going to talk about these first. We're looking at 12, 1, 2, and 3. We're going to turn the angles 5 minutes at a time. So when the minute hand on the clock turns 5 minutes, how many degrees is that? Take a look. If 15 minutes is 90 degrees, then 5 minutes will be a 30-degree turn. So each time the minute hand moves 5 minutes, it is a 30-degree turn. And you can see if we took out a protractor and saw the angle that it moved, it would measure 30 degrees. As each time the minute hand turns 5 minutes, it is a 30-degree turn. So this time, we're going to talk about those quarter turns again. So let's turn the minute hand to the 9. So here we are back at 9 o'clock. We're going to turn the minute hand to the 9. So how many degrees will that be? So we're going to go 90 degrees at a time, or 15 minutes at a time. So let's start. There's our first 90 degrees. It's 9:15 now. And then remember, we need to get to the 9. We need to get to 9:45. Now it's 9:30. We have moved 90 plus 90 degrees. We've moved 180 degrees. That was a 180-degree turn if you're talking about 12 to 6. Now we're finally going to get to that 9. Now we have 90 plus 90 plus 90 degrees. How many degrees did we turn when we turned from the 12 to the 9? 270 degrees. So from the 12 to the 9, we made a 270-degree turn, or 3/4 turns. So do you see why we call a 90-degree turn a quarter turn? Because it takes how many quarters to get all the way around? We're going to do that now. We're going to go one more quarter turn. Okay, so we need to go one more quarter turn. So think about what that would be. Let's go ahead and turn our minute hand one more quarter. There it is. We're at 10 o'clock and we went a complete 360 degrees. So our minute hand is backwards started. It went from 12 all the way back to 12 and it is at 360 degrees. It made a 360-degree turn and wound up in the same place. Now, what about another real life example? What about people? People can also turn in angle degrees. If this person turns to his right, how many degrees is he turning? So let's take a look at him. He's going to turn to his right. How many degrees did he turn? You can think about it as if he were standing on a clock in the middle of a clock, and he went from looking at the 12 to looking at the 9. He went 90 degrees. He made a 90-degree turn. Now, what if he turns around so that he's facing the opposite direction? Let's take a look. So now he's turned the other way. Think about how many degrees he turned. He turned 180 degrees. And if you think about him standing on a line, he made a complete 180-degree turn. Or if he's even standing on a protractor, he did the entire side of the protractor. Now, what if he turns all the way around? Think about what happened to the minute hand when it went all the way around 60 minutes. So he went to the right, right, another quarter turn, and another quarter turn. So he made 4 quarter turns and he turned 360 degrees. All right, we're going to head over to the problem set where we're going to look at some other life examples, real life examples of angles and turns. So take out your problem set, and I will also take out my problem set, and we will begin. All right, here we are. Let's head on over to number 1. Joe, Steve, and Bob stood in the middle of the yard and faced the house. So they're all in the middle. Joe turned 90 degrees to the right. Steve turned 180 degrees to the right. Bob turned 270 degrees to the right. Name the object that each boy is now facing. So what I'm going to do is have 3 colors. Let's see. I'm going to look at Joe first because he's the first one. He was facing the house and he turned 90 degrees. So he's facing the house. He turned 90 degrees. So he's in green. And I'm going to just box him in green. Steve turned 180 degrees to the right. So he's in blue. Steve started in the same place and turned 180 degrees because he did 2 quarter turns. And in yellow, I'm going to have Bob, who's going to turn 270 degrees. 270 degrees is 90 plus 90 plus 90. So now I can see where each person, each boy, is facing. Joe, I can see is facing, so he did this 90-degree turn. He's facing the fence. Steve is in blue. He did 180 degrees. He's now facing the tree. And then let's see, Bob did 3 quarter turns. So he did 90, he did 90, and he did a third 90. He's facing the barn. Okay. So that's number 1. I'm going to skip number 2 because we did that in the example earlier, and you can do that on your own and check your answer. Let's do number 3 together. So a skater jumped into the air and did a 360. What does that mean? So if you remember the example of the boy, when somebody turns 360 degrees, that means they turned all the way around and is now facing the same way. Excuse me. So I'm going to write, he jumped in the air, turned all the way around, and is now facing the way he started. Okay, so a 360 means you turn all the way around and you're back where you started, just like the clock, just like the kid. All right, number 4. Mr. Martin drove away from his house without his wallet. He did a 180. Where is he heading now? So there he goes. He left his house. He's going to the store, but he did a 180 to get his wallet. A 180 looks like that. Like if you showed a protractor, 180 looks like this. It's 180 degrees. That means he went back home. He is heading home. Okay, a 180 means you turn around and go back the other way, or you're facing the other way. All right, let's move to the other side. Number 5, I'm going to let you do number 5 on your own. John turned the knob of the shower 270 degrees to the right. So just show me, it's kind of like our clock example earlier in the video. So you're just going to draw the picture, that little triangle, to show where it's pointing. Number 6, Barb used her scissors to cut out a coupon from the newspaper. How many quarter turns does she need to turn the paper in order to stay on the lines? Now remember, a quarter turn equals 90 degrees. So that is you can call that language of the discipline. A quarter turn equals 90 degrees. So how many did she turn? I'm going to get one of my markers. She turned here. She turned there. She turned there. And she turned there. She made 3 90-degree turns, or four 90-degree turns. So I'm going to say she made 4. She made 4 quarter turns. Okay. Now, this one's kind of tricky. How many quarter turns does the picture needed to be rotated in order for it to be upright? Well, I'm going to just really quickly do that now. So if I turned my paper this way, now that doggy is upright. So how many quarter turns was that? I went to the left. So I would say 1 quarter turn to the left. But what if I turned it to the right? Would it be the same? So I'm going to actually turn the paper. There's 1 quarter turn to the right. Is he upright? He's not. Let's do 2 quarter turns. 2 quarter turns. Is that painting upright? Not yet. 3 quarter turns. Is it upright? Now it is. So when I went to the left, it was just once. When I went to the right, it was 3. So I can say 1 quarter turn to the left or 3 quarter turns to the right. So there are 2 ways that that picture can be rotated in order for it to be upright. All right, I'm gonna let you do 8 on your own. It talks about Meredith, and she's facing north. She turns 90 degrees and then 180 degrees more. In which direction is she facing? So you'll do that on your own and check your work. And here are the answers. We did this one together. Oops, this one is a little blurry, but you can see where the knob should be turned. We did number 6 together. We did number 7 together, and there's the answer to number 8. Okay, so head on over to the homework, check the homework, and then send me all your work. We will have a mid-module assessment on Tuesday on lessons 1 through 8. All right, have a great day, and I will see you in our next video.